This is an example of how to use pivot tables, and we are going to use the UIC course grades distribution from about the last 20 years to do this. So go to the course website, choose the datasets page, and in the datasets page, we scroll down to the course grades distribution. And if you click on that, it'll take you to a Google Drive folder where it is. I already did this, but you click on it and open it, and it's big. And then you want to do, after you open it, File, Save As, and then save it in some place of your own so you can work with it. I already did those steps because it can take a while. Like it can take a minute for all that to happen, depending on your network connection, the amount of memory you have. So I already did that. I already stored it. Where did I store it? I stored it here. UIC grades demo, opening it up. This is what it looks like. So we want to get a sense of what is the DFW rate for courses. So it's an indication where there could be trouble. So what's the number of Ds, the number of Fs, and the number of withdrawals in a course. And that, so this other grade information of different kinds of grades that can be given, we're probably not going to need. So we're going to highlight these columns and we're going to delete those. You could also sort by the total class size, the number of grades that are given, and maybe get rid of all the classes that are less than, I don't know, let's click here, control down arrow to the very bottom, classes that are less than 15, for example. So let's highlight all of this. Let's sort on grade number. So data sort on range on O, descending order. Takes a little bit of time. And then we're going to get rid of all the ones down here that have a value that's less than 15. There's a bunch of them. So small class sizes, because that can really be skewed. The statistics can be off on that. And so here we are, getting close. All right. So all the ones that have a value of 14 or less, when there's lots of data, just little scrolls hard to find the exact spot. Come on. There we go. Okay, so right here. So all of these. So that's some thousands. So that was like, I don't know, 20,000 courses that just disappeared. And these columns disappeared, so it made it a little bit smaller, more manageable. Okay, so next thing we want to do is make a column for the DFW rate. So we'll go up here to columns. We'll insert a new column to the left. We'll call it DFW rate, W%. And I'm going to save this for good measure here. I think it's auto-saving. And the DFW rate is the number of DF and W divided by the total number here. So we'll do equals sum of these three divided by the sum of all of these, right there like that. Okay. Press enter. Divided by the sum. Yeah, that looks right. And it's not responsive. Oh, I don't know what's going on. So let's exit page and go back in. Because it's a large data set, maybe it had an issue. So let's go back out and load it back up into memory and try it one more time here. So sum of these three, let's just make sure that's working, right? That's working, okay. So sum of those divided by the sum of all of these. Okay. And then this, we want it to be a percentage. So here, all of these, the percent of DFWs was 100%. So there's maybe something else going on there. Honors activities, who knows what that is, right? And now we're going to copy this percentage, and we're going to copy it from there. And I'll control down arrow, get me all the way to the bottom. So copying from here, click and shift click down there, and paste it, thinking, fill it in for all of these. Now here we have some values where there's no scores at all, where the says there's 15 in the class, but there's none here. So let's sort and get rid of these as well. So let's sort based off of this column and pick up these. So data sort by N. And all those should go to one end or the other. So here they are down at the bottom. So there's all zeros, so that's not helpful for our exercise that we're doing right now. So we can get rid of all those as well for our analysis. I'm wondering if we want to get rid of the ones where DFW is 100% as well, because I think there's a bigger story there, which means that the significant number of grades, so it's 109 grades, but only 2 of them were W's at 100%. So there's a bunch of other kinds of grades like credit, no credit, or pass, fail, or something like that. So these that are 100% DFW rate, we're going to get rid of those too. So we can look for relationships that are not spurious and don't have to do with other things like the type of course that it is. Okay, so here we are. So from here down, we're going to get rid of all these as well. Okay. Now we have the DFW rate. And now we can try and get a sense of like for the DFW rate compared to maybe our hypothesis is that the low course numbers have higher DFW rates because students are earlier in their curriculum. So now we're going to create a pivot table. So we go up to Insert, Pivot Table, and we're going to make a new sheet. We don't want to put it in this existing sheet. So create, here's a new sheet. The data range, hang on a second. So pivot table for the whole thing. Should just be able to do insert. Here we go, A1, so the whole thing. And we create a pivot table, and here it is. On the right-hand side are these options. And if for some reason all that were to go away, you come over to the table part on the left and you click on the little pencil for edit, and it comes back up. All right, get rid of the suggested stuff. So under the rows on the left-hand side, we want to have the course number. So let's add a row for the course number. Here's the course number. There's all the course numbers. And then we want to have a value for each course number. So we'll add a value. And in this case, it's the DFW rate. And when it comes up, it's summing them, but we want to get the median or the average of them. We'll do average. So here's the DFW rate for these courses. And maybe we want a little more information for these courses. Like maybe we want to know like what department was it, right? So we could go in here and we could, for rows, we could add, there's a course number and maybe the course department. No, we'll put the number. Course CD, is that it? That's like what department or whatever it is. So, and something we can point out here. So this is, there's a course 100, like 80, 100, architecture 100, biology, chem 100. There's lots of 100s. And we could collapse all the 100s to a single number if we want to, which is actually what we want to do. But we've seen that this doesn't look helpful for us right now. So we'll make that go away. So now we just have the numbers themselves and the average of all of the courses that are at that level. And if we scroll to the far other end of our data, here we can see, where did it go? There's not that many at the other end, that the sort of average of all of these is 9%. And look at these higher numbered courses is 0%, like 600 level courses, like they're probably grad courses. So let's do this. Let's grab these two things and let's insert a chart for this, and it'll be a scatter plot chart, so we can make this go away here. And now we can focus on, we can do the usual things with sheets. So we want the type of the chart to be set up not a line chart. We want it to be scatter like that. And looks like we have an outlier there above 80%. So we could get rid of the outlier. We can go back to the pivot table, edit the pivot table, and down here there's a filter. And we're going to add, and we're going to remove things above 40%. So it looks like there's an outlier there that skews things. So if there's DFW above 40%, we're going to get rid of that. So we'll put a filter in here. And DFW is what we're going to filter on. And it shows all items. And we want to, let's see, filter by condition. Let's try this. And let's see if it's greater than 40. Let's say less than 0.4. See what that does for us. So we have another outlier, less than 0.3 maybe here. Let's try that. Okay, so that looks better. So we use that filter, which is convenient to do. Otherwise, it'd be a pain to go and sort and find things and get rid of values. And then you'd have to, if you want to have other kinds of graphs, then you've lost some of your data. So now in our setup, we've got our scatter chart, and we'll go into customize, and we'll go into our series, and we'll add the trend line there like that. And we'll go into the color, and I think opacity, we can do that. Make the opacity like 30% and make our line color red. And maybe we make it a little bit thicker, or we make it less opaque. Okay, so there we go. So now we can see here's all these courses, and it looks like that lower number courses have a higher DFW rate. It seems kind of reasonable. Like maybe students who are just starting out, it's one of the first courses that they take. They're still trying to figure out what their major is, et cetera, maybe prerequisites. And then later, as they figure out what they want to do, then the DFW rate goes down. There's maybe a higher level of commitment. We're not sure, but it's something that we could explore. So this is one example for one pivot table. Okay, so we're going to set that to a side for a moment and say, well, what if we wanted to go back to our data and we wanted to find out what's the DFW rate by college, like College of Engineering or finance? How about that? So we don't have to delete this. We can go back to grades, and we can go and say insert another pivot table. So here's pivot table. Make another new sheet. And so this first one, this was DFW by course. So we can rename this pivot table DFW percent by course number. And now this new one, just so we can keep them straight, is going to be pivot table DFW percent by college. Okay. And again, we don't have to go back, sort, or do anything. This is just a different view on the data. And so now, we do have to get the college information in here. It's not in there right now. We have a department name, but we don't have the college name. Fortunately, we have majors and colleges over here. So we have to take each of these, look it up, and put that information in. So let's insert another column. So here we go. And this is going to be college, what college it is. And we're going to use VLOOKUP, which we studied previously, equals VLOOKUP. And we're going to say, let's look up the department name. And we're going to look it up over here in majors and colleges. And then we're going to look through these two columns. And we're going to grab the second of those two columns. And let's see what we get. Managerial studies, maybe didn't find it. I don't know, something went wrong. Let's try it again. VLOOKUP, this value, And here, across these two columns, column 2, the last field is sorted for false, and we can just ignore that. There it is. Okay. And left justify business administration. Okay. So there's our college information is in there. And now we're going to take that and we're going to copy and paste it down and look up all these others. And it should, and it's filling in the rows, takes a little bit of time. And there we go. Notice that we have some values like not, couldn't find it in there. So there could be other such ones. So if we want to right now, so Academic Center for Excellence, that's not a usual sort of college. So we might decide that, you know what, again, we could sort by that and get rid of those, but let's just see what happens if we leave that in there for right now. So now let's go over to DFW rate by college and over here to edit our pivot table. So the row is going to be college. There's the colleges. And then the values that we're going to add is going to be DFW percent. Okay. And we don't want the sum. We want the average of these. So there's the DFW rate. Now it'd be nice if we get these in order, in descending order. So here, instead of sorting by college, let's sort by DFW in descending order. And there we go. And we've got the not applicable for 38%. So we don't actually care about that. So let's add a filter down here. And we're going to filter on college. And we're going to look at the values that are in here. And the NA one, we're going to eliminate those. Okay. And let's see anything else. So law, dentistry. Oh, dentistry, not dentistry. Okay, that's a problem. We got to fix that. So let's go over here to majors and colleges. So data can be messy. And let's search for dentistry. Dentistry. There's 7 of them. And let's do a replace with dentistry and spell it correctly. Yeah. Okay. Done. Now let's go back to our pivot table. Now there's just dentistry, not dentistry. Okay. So back to colleges. So liberal arts and sciences is in there. So that's fine. Engineering, architecture, design, and the arts. This is good. So let's take out law and dentistry and medicine. So we will take out law, dentistry, and medicine, leaving just the sort of quote standard colleges that we're familiar with. And now we have the DFW rates across the colleges. But let's say, you know, we want more information. Like let's say we're looking at engineering, 10%. Like, well, within engineering, what's going on? So let's explore just engineering for a moment. And here we can see the beauty of pivot tables. So for college, whoops, undo. I could clear all of these and just choose engineering. Here's engineering. So now it's only showing engineering. And now I'm going to add some more information, some rows for engineering. I'm going to add the majors. So let's add the department within engineering. So here's the departments within engineering. And we want to get this sort again. So sort by department name. How about descending? No. Want to sort DFW rates, descending DFW rates, right? But now it's not sorting by college. We want department name. All right, well, I'm just going to leave that for right now and not fiddle with it because then there's multiple things to undo. So if we look at these, we can see computer science right here has the highest value. So what's going on within computer science? Like, is there a particular course that causes a problem within computer science? So we could add the course information. So let's do that. So let's add the course number. And so here's the course numbers within all of engineering. And now, so let's add another filter down here at the bottom. So we only get computer science. So department name, and we only want to see clear all of these, and we only want computer science. Where is it? It's got to be here. It is. Okay. So only show computer. So instead of all of engineering, now it's only showing computer science. And here's the DFW rates within computer science. And now we can go look at this and go, oh, look at this. This course, 201 is 30%, 202, 29%. So these high DFW numbers, we could go and drill into these and see what the matter is. And then for some of these courses, they're higher level courses, but if they still have a high DFW rate, then we want to go look at that and get a sense of what's going on. All right, so I can reverse this by taking out the filter for department name, so all the departments are there. And then I can collapse by department, and so I can get a sense for each of the departments what the total value is here for the DFW rates. And I could drill in and look at some other one if I wanted to. And let's do one more. Let's go and switch it from, instead of engineering, let's go to LAS. So let's clear this and go to LAS. So here's LAS. And here's LAS. And let's take all of the departments out. Let me see. Show totals, DFW rates, filter by college. I want to collapse this down. So let's get rid of course number. And we just have all the departments. So now within LAS, here's all the departments, here's all the DFW rates. And we can look at these values and explore a little bit, like which values are high, which values are low. We see that, oh, okay, chemistry, 20%, well, has a reputation being hard. It's a basis for a lot of sciences, it's a required course, so maybe that explains it there. We have math, statistics, computer science, 21%, and so forth. So you could go explore, look at these and figure out, there's oftentimes there's a story that's being told behind this. So it doesn't, because it's a high number, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a problem, but it means it's something interesting that we want to look at. Or it could be the other end of the spectrum. Maybe the grades are too easy and the DFW rate is like close to zero because somebody gives all A's to everybody all the time. So hopefully this gives you an example of how you can use pivot tables to explore. And I encourage you to use this data and go and look at it and try and figure out what are interesting questions that you'd want to have answered and to play with it and see if you can do so.